Hi everyone, a very warm welcome to another LeadSquared webinar. Thank you so much for taking the time to join the session. I hope you all are okay and safe wherever you are. Today we'll be discussing the LeadSquared portal and portal designer. This is probably only the second webinar we are having on the portal designer, so glad that you all are here because there's a lot to learn from this session. That includes how to, of course, capture leads and convert them into paying customers through engaging the portal without writing a single line of code, capturing a variety of lead information that includes documents, signatures, images, payments, whatever your business process requires. Of course, having fast and mobile responsive portals and showcasing your services through videos, sliders, documents, images, variety of ways in which you can showcase your offerings. To take us through the session, we have Shirish, who is a product manager at LeadSquared. We are also here. We also have Surya here, who took a couple of sessions in the last couple of weeks. He is also here to help answer your questions. So please keep that coming. We also have a bunch of polls here. We just really want to get more information about your usage and, of course, make improvements wherever necessary based on your inputs. So again, thank you so much for joining. Please post your questions via the chat panel, and I'm here in the background if you need to ask me anything. Over to you, Shirish. Please take the session ahead.
Hey, hello everybody. Great afternoon. I'm actually very much excited to present our latest tool, which is our portal designer. Essentially, it is meant to help businesses capture and convert leads, seamlessly with highly engaging and responsive portals. So essentially, last year, there was an immediate need for a digital transformation for various business workflows, right? And there was a need for a tool which was versatile enough, accessible enough for businesses to reach to their users and essentially serve their services, right? And a portal like tool where businesses can essentially host portals which will allow their leads or users to visit the portals, browse different services provided by that business, select the service that they are interested in, apply for that service, pay for that service, and essentially track the status, right? So we built this no code tool where businesses can come and essentially quickly build these portals, this beautiful, responsive, seamless portal without writing a single line of code and deploy within few minutes, right? So essentially it will be published and live in front of your users through the web link, right? Now, before essentially we move ahead, I'm actually very much interested to know what kind of audience or what kind of uh, uh, audience are joining us from different industries. So Shivani, can we have that poll up?
Sure, Shirish. Like Shirish said, we want to know more about you, and of course, it will help us also in terms of figuring out which industries require portals more, and therefore make changes accordingly. So again, let us know which industry do you work for or represent. Is it education? That includes higher ed, training, edtech, K-12, finance. That could be banks, insurance, lending, stockbroking. We also have real estate up as an option, healthcare, and others. If you know if you work for an industry or company that does not fall in any of these categories or brackets, please do mention that in the others in the chat panel. So I can tell you, yeah, the vast majority, Shirish, are from education. So about I can see 40% so far are saying education. We also have about 17% from finance, another 17 from real estate, just 4% from healthcare, and about 16% are saying others. But it keeps fluctuating as more and more people vote.
Interesting.
But I think, yeah, I could say that about 40% are education, and the rest are equally divided amongst finance, real estate, and others. Healthcare, not so much.
Got it. Well, that's great then. I've actually selected education case here to demo and walk through in this session also. So actually that will be great for folks from the education sector. Now let us talk about essentially what is required of a portal, right? Um, Ideally, we build this portal designer based on these four principles, right? Our portal should be responsive, compatible across all platforms. It should be easily renderable on mobile, tablets, desktop. It should be fast and responsive, right? It should be able to support rich application forms, right? So essentially, you'd be able to capture all kinds of information about your lead, capture documents, capture payment, images, photos, or signature, even signatures from your leads, right? Also, that portal should be able to match your brand style, your unique brand style, right? Without writing a single line of code and just dragging and dropping different components to match as much as to your unique brand, right? And also, the final and most important part is that you don't have to worry about anything in terms of the uptime, the infrastructure, the scalability. All the portals are hosted and maintained by LeadSquared. So they are almost 99.9%. They almost have like 99.9% uptime. And essentially, say for example, if you have a surge on application day just before your final date of application, you don't have to worry about anything. You can just kick back and relax, and our portals will automatically scale to handle that kind of load, right? So keeping in mind these essentially four pillars, right? We built a portal designer which is meant to be a self-serving tool. So businesses can come and use this product and start building their own portal according to their business logic, right? Without writing any piece of code. And the portal builder essentially seamlessly integrates with all the available LeadSquared products, right? So folks, those who are kind of new and joined us are first time hearing about LeadSquared, right? So LeadSquare has got different variety of other products that are useful in capturing information about your lead, nurturing your lead, setting up different automations to communicate with your lead during different lead stages, right? So there are forms and processes. We have got different automations to say, for example, conduct different marketing flows, to send emails at different stages, and we have got different activities and opportunities. So all of these products work right out of the box with the portal designer, right? So if you're an existing customer, well, that's great news for you because you are kind of getting a head start. You have already set up your forms and processes, your automations, your activities. Now all you have to do is just start dragging and dropping components, and you're ready with your portal, right? So now what we'll do is we'll quickly run through different components that are available inside this portal designer, right? And how essentially you can start building your own portal. Now, if you look at a portal, right, ideally it is supposed to, whenever a user essentially visits your portal, right, ideally it is supposed to inform the user about your different services. So say, for example, if you're a university, right, a lot of folks are from education sector. So let's just say, for example, if you have got universities and different colleges at different location, it should be able to inform the visitor about those different infrastructure available in these colleges, different curriculum, pricing structure, right? And then later on the portal, the user should be able to apply to the course that he's interested in, fill out the application form, right? Pay the application fees, and then finally be able to track the status of his application, whether he's accepted, whether he essentially has to fill some more information, or whether his application got rejected, right? So now, keeping in mind these kind of different requirements, what are the components that you can use to your advantage to build these different responsive and highly engaging portal, right? So first and obviously first component is your content blocks, correct? So ideally, through your portals, you also want to educate and showcase different services about your business to your users, right? So say, for example, you would want to build some informative, engaging landing pages, which would have your FAQs, your pricing structure, or say, for example, you would want to build your contact us page or have some kind of like a university intro video right in there, right? So with these kind of content blocks, right, you can just drag and drop these content blocks into the portal and add different kind of images, videos, text, slide, buttons. And even the cool part about it is that you can have different actions set up on these buttons, right? So say, for example, if you want a user to come to your portal and download a brochure about your university, right? So you can have a button, and on that button click, you essentially a user can immediately download that brochure. Or maybe you want him to visit your official website of your university, right? So you can even set up those kind of rules. Or maybe say, for example, there can be also a case that lead who is visiting from city Bangalore, right? You only want him to show all the courses available for the users in Bangalore, or you only want to show your leads the courses that are available to their respective cities, right? So those kind of logic can also be set on these kind of content blocks, right? So ideally in these scenarios, the lead would only be able to see the courses that are available in his city, right? So with content block, essentially you can have all these kind of cool informative content setup or different kind of logic setup, so that essentially your visitors can collect as much as information they need to make a decision, to make a purchase about your service, right? So now that is what the content block is meant to do, right? Next, once you essentially inform the user about your services, right? Now, say for example, the user is interested and wants to apply for your course or apply for your loan, right? Or say for example, apply for some kind of an insurance policy, right? So in these cases, you would want him to ideally fill out some kind of application form, collect different information around that, right? So hence we have got this component which will allow you to integrate different dynamic forms right into your portals, right? And if you have got already forms set up in your existing LeadSquared account, right? Which can be multi-stage forms, these can have dynamic rules in them, right? So you can essentially immediately drag and drop these forms. So you don't have to write anything from scratch if they are already available. You can just drag these forms and you're good to go, right? So these forms can capture different preferences about the user, city, address, things of that nature, different files. So say, for example, mark sheet, right? Documents, images, signature, media, files, and things like that through these forms, right? And also another thing, in your portal, you would ideally want the user to register into your portal, right? Or say, for example, have a facility for him to log in into your portal, right? So you can also add these different login registration forms into your portal, right? And the cool thing about these login and registration form is that you can verify the email address and mobile number of these users, right? So this pretty much eliminates the possibility of, say, for example, users who are not verified, right? So all the leads, you can essentially verify their email address and mobile for further communication right through these registration form, right? And not only that, right? So say, for example, you don't want your login form to be, so say, for example, password with passwords, right? So you can essentially have your login form with OTP, and which is very much convenient for universities where parents or guardians are meant to fill out the forms, right? So these kind of password-less forms will enhance your user experience in your portals and would allow essentially parents or guardians to log in without password through OTP, right? So you can even configure these forms to have OTP verification in them, right? And finally, like LeadSquared forms, right? You can also collect payments through payment gateways via your forms securely, right? So if you have got already your payment gateway set up, say for example with Razorpay, PayU, that is something that you can immediately get into your forms. And whenever you integrate that form in the portal, you can right off the bat start collecting payments from your users through these payment gateways, correct? So now what we have covered is we have covered content blocks through which we can inform our users about our services. Next, we have seen this component called as dynamic forms, with which you can capture different lead information about your leads, right? So next, essentially after a lead fills out your application form, your loan form, your admission form, right? Ideally, he would want to track the status of their loan form or their admission form, whether it's rejected or whether it's approved, right? So how would you allow to do that, right? So we have set up this component called as application block, right? So to folks who are essentially new to LeadSquare, in LeadSquare we have got activities, and for each lead, a lead can create an activity. An activity could be something like application for an admission, application for a course, enrollment for a course, application for a loan, right? So any kind of activity that a lead can perform essentially is what you call activities in LeadSquared, right? So these activities can then be used to allow users to track their application status on these portals. So it's pretty simple again. All you have to do is just drag and drop these application blocks and just link it up to your activity, say for example, course enrollment activity. And now once you do that, your leads can track their loan application status, admission status right from their dashboard. So as a business, that allows you to maintain a transparency throughout your application process, right? Your lead is essentially always informed about their status. They can at any time log into these portals through the login forms that we have set up in the previous component, right? And go to their dashboard and check out the status of their applications that they have applied, right? And not only that, you can essentially, so say for example, if you're a university and you've got a business logic where you want your students or your candidates to be able to apply to multiple courses, or essentially for a fintech, it would be like they want to apply for multiple loans. So even that is possible. So you can have your leads to be able to apply to multiple courses, multiple loans at the same time simultaneously, and they can track those simultaneously right through the dashboard, right? And finally, essentially now when a lead is tracking the status of their application, right? So say for example, if it's a course application and currently it's in pending state and it is yet to be reviewed for by a counselor, right? Meanwhile, essentially the user, you can set up rules on these application blocks which would allow the user to download the brochure, or say for example if his application gets approved, right? So he can download different assets, different PDFs about your course, right? Or say for example if his application gets rejected, you can set up different buttons that will allow him to contact your support team and things of that nature. So essentially these application blocks, you can have different buttons in them which you can configure to perform different activities based on the status of your application, right? So that is a cool feature in these applications, right? So now we have covered this third state, which will allow your leads to track the status of the services or the applications that they have essentially applied for your business, right? Next part is essentially a component called as application preview, right? So now there are scenarios where you would want your lead to view their loan application or their admission application, right? So what you have to do is you have to just drag and drop this application preview and configure your form so that it will generate a PDF. And that is very simple. All you have to do is just toggle an option in your LeadSquared forms, right? And that is available in our help center, right? So with these application previews, right, leads can essentially download their application PDF, maintain a copy at their end, or not only that, you can even configure these application previews to generate custom format, right? So say for example, you could generate loan agreements, insurance policy agreements, say for example, college enrollment cards, admission cards, invoices. So you can go and just write a template HTML according to your PDF template, right? And then your leads can download those PDFs along with your branding and logo and whatever customization you want in those PDF, right? So that is also a cool feature which will essentially allow you to extend your business logic to allow it to download different like agreements and admission cards and things of that nature, right? So finally, now we have gone through these different components that are already available in the portal builder and essentially what these different components are meant to do in the portal builder, right? But now you could ask that, Shirish, well, what kind of use cases can be built with the portal builder, right? So now I've actually got three examples, and assessing these examples, I'll give you a blueprint, right? And through that blueprint, you can immediately assess what kind of does your business essentially, can your business sort of have portals that will simplify your um, essentially application process or loan application process and things like that nature. And after that, you can yourself decide, and we'll have a poll, which will, where you can essentially brainstorm and see, okay, what kind of business flows I can automate with my in the portal builder, right? So say for example, loan application. Let's take a case of loan application, right? Ideally in loan application portals, you would want your applicant to come to your portal, view different loan plans, read the terms and condition of your loans, fill out the application form once they are interested in some kind of loan plan, right? Upload the relevant documents. And once they have essentially applied for a loan, they can actually track the loan application status and finally download the loan agreement once it is approved. Right? The same case can be about graduate admissions, right? So if you are a university and you want to build a portal which will allow your students to apply for your graduate programs through these portals, right? So ideally, in this case, a student would come browse different colleges available under your university, view the college infrastructure, check out the infra video, things of that nature, right? And once they have made up their mind, yeah, I do want to apply for this XYZ college, they can go ahead, register in the portal, log in, and fill out the application for that specific college, right? And then, say for example, if you can even have them take different online assessment tests, right? So once they take different online assessment tests, you can then have them track their application status right through the portal. They can see whether they have been approved for that particular course. If they have been approved, they can get an enrollment offer letter which they can download, or they can even download brochures, or say for example, post admission PDFs and other kind of documents that will be required. So that is kind of a case for graduate admission. Another case that you can quickly sort of evaluate is online course application, right? So a lot of edtechs can essentially quickly start collecting different online course application right through their portal without really investing in a lot of tech on their own, right? Because they can immediately come to our portal builder and start using it to collect different course applications, right? So in this scenario, a student would come browse different online courses, view sample video, sort of sample video from that course. Once they decide, they can select the course, fill in the application, pay the course fees, and then get registered for that course, and they can track the course enrollment, download their course card, and they're on their way, right? So now if you even like evaluate all of these three different cases, the common denominator on all of these three cases, or the blueprint behind these three cases, is that it's a three-step process, right? Ideally, you would want your user to browse some kind of informational content, right? After that, they would want to act and apply to certain offering that your business has got, and finally they would want to track that business offering, right? So any kind of business use case that follows these kind of three-step process, right, which is browse, apply, and track, essentially would be supported by our portal designer, and you can start building your own portal with our portal designer, right? So now we have covered our use cases, right? Let us go to our poll, right? So now looking at these different cases, right? Can you sort of think where you can see the need for portals in your business workflow, right? So you can be from an education sector or fintech sector. What do you think? Like, where do you see that, yeah, I can benefit from having a portal in my business workflow? Shivani, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Shirish. Now that you know a bit about the portals, you know some of the use cases that you could think of for portals. Where do you see the need for portals in your business workflow? Is it admissions process? That would be education. In real estate, maybe the use case might be property bookings and finance, perhaps loan applications in healthcare, maybe for patients or any others. I know based on the previous poll, some of you are from the IT services sector. So again, over there, if you have the need for any reason, please do share those use cases with us. It will just help us, um, tailor a better product for you, essentially. So I can tell you again, yeah, over 50% are saying admissions process, Shirish. So the majority of the audience today see that that's where they might have a need for portals. Then I can see a lot of people are also talking about property booking, so that's about 30%. Not as
Interesting.
many, not as many people are looking for loan applications or patients, and about 13% again are saying others. um, so yeah, if you do have any other requests or needs, maybe think through it, come back to us. Yeah, I see a couple of people saying insurance here, so again, it will work for your industry as well. So I think you have your answer there, Shirish.
Great, great.
I see.
Well,
I also see a portal for B2B contract of services. So I think, yeah, that's another use case and example for us. That's from Rohit. Or Ronit.
interesting. Interesting. Well, luckily, I've actually selected a small use case in education domain, and luckily, we have got majority of our users interested in that use case only. So, say for example, let us imagine we are an university, right? And we want to build our own admissions portal. Okay. So first, we'll go through a sample or an ideal uh, workflow for admissions, right? A new lead will be interested and will visit your portal, right? He'll go through all those landing pages, FAQs, pricings, curriculum, videos, all those things that you have configured with our portal designer through the component blocks that we saw a couple of slides ago, right? Now, going through all that information, he's very much interested in our university, right? That's great news for us. Great. Now, what essentially the lead will want to register on your portal will specifically mention that, if you want to apply to our courses, please register. And after that, you can apply to our courses, right? So after registration, the lead would want to select their college preferences, their city, their address, right? They might have, we would ideally want them to pay a nominal application fee, something like 1,000, 1,200, right? Through our payment gateway. Say, for example, we have integration with Razorpay, okay? And then continue with filling out the rest of the application flow form, right? Which might involve collecting the mark sheet, 10th, 12th mark sheet, say for example, entrance exam scores and stuff like that, right? After they have filled out their application form, through our LeadSquare automations and processes, they would get a call from a counselor. They would have a chat with our counselor, essentially get some kind of counseling or recommendation around their courses. And then after the evaluation from the counselor end, right, the lead would get recommended a course, right? And if interested, the lead will enroll for that course. And after confirmation, he should be able to download some kind of an admission form or a brochure. And after that, he's done, right? He can start coming up from the next July or next fall course session, right? So that is kind of a sample university workflow, right? So now, uh, well, before essentially we dive into how to, go about building this a specific workflow with our portal designer, right? I would first like to know if you guys are essentially maintaining or building your own portals for your businesses, right? I am interested actually to learn essentially, are you guys maintaining those or building those portals internally with your tech team, or whether you're using some kind of freelancer or some kind of agency?
Sure, Shirish. So yeah, and you can opt for multiple answers in this question, because it could be a combination of, maybe an admin team working with an agency. So who is building and maintaining portals for your business? Is it the internal IT or admin team? Is it developed by freelancers? Is it developed by an agency? Built using no-code tools? Or are you not using portals? Because that could also be a case here, or you're not sure, in which case please opt for that answer. But again, is it internal admin teams? Is it being developed by freelancers, by agencies, or no, using no code tools? Again, if there are tools there that allow you to do so, please mention those tools to us. And if you don't know, just let us know, because that's perfectly okay. Again, I can tell you, most people here are saying it's by the internal IT or admin team, Shirish. And then the second most votes have gone to the agency, so developed by agency. Thereafter, most people don't really know or they don't have an answer, and followed by freelancers and no code tools. So again, that's 64% are saying admins, internal IT, 28% are not sure, 19% are saying developed by the agency, another 11% are saying freelancers, and about 3 to 4% are saying no code tools. So yeah, those are the answers that I am seeing there right away.
Interesting, interesting. So I understand majority of people who are already using the portals have built their portals with the internal IT or admin team. Now, obviously keeping that in mind, I'll try to sort of design my quick walkthrough so that it resonates to our audience, right? But a quick observation is that, say, for example, in ideal scenario, when you've got an internal IT or admin team, and you would want to, say, for example, if you're a member of a marketing team, and ideally you would want to change a couple of images at your landing page, or you want to change couple of items from your form, right? So in this scenario, usually what ends up happening is you'll have to create a requirement. That requirements go to your internal team. The internal team starts building this in a development cycle, right? So this whole process might extend from anywhere from 2 to 3 days to a week or so on, right? But the interesting thing about our portal builder is that since it's a no-code tool, right, and everything, essentially your forms, your process, and everything works out of the box, right? It's pretty much a drag and drop business here, right? And that is what we'll also see on walkthrough, right? All you have to do is, if you've got a couple of images that you want to change in your home page or landing page, all you have to do is just upload those images, drag and drop, and click on publish, and within a couple of minutes, your changes are live in front of your view, right? So that is an exciting thing to our audience who are kind of struggling with a long development cycle in order to deliver changes through their portal, right? Now, having gotten that out of our way, right? Let us sort of go through a quick walkthrough for our university use case that we just saw, right? Let us establish what kind of ingredients we might need to build our portals. Okay. So we'll need two forms, correct? One is a registration form so that our leads can register through OTP or log in through OTP, right? A quick note is that whenever you are creating registration form at LeadSquare, say for example, this is for new users, right? You will have to enable the portal toggle in your form settings. That is something you can find in our help center also in more details, right? So we'll need one registration form, right? Second, we'll need an admission form. An admission form could be a multi-stage form, so where you'll be collecting basic details at stage. In another stage, you'll be collecting all those educational documents, test score. You'll be in the next stage, you'll be collecting guardian information, parent information, and say, for example, in the final step, you'd have a payment gateway where you'll pay some kind of nominal application, right? Cool. So let us assume that we have got these two forms built in our LeadSquared account already, right? Cool. Next, we will need an admission activity. Now, remember, activity, as I mentioned, is something a lead can do. Say, for example, if a lead wants to apply for a course or apply for a loan, that is a good example of an activity, right? An activity, lead can essentially track that activity, change the status of that activity, and store different information around that activity, right? So, in our case, we'll have a activity that will allow us to track the status of admission, right? And in this admission activity, we might store the status of the admission. We might also want to store, say, for example, when the user essentially applied to this admission, what is the payment status of this admission. So all kind of this information can be stored in our activity, right? So cool, we need an admission activity, and we need three status in this activity, right? One is pending, when the user really hasn't filled out a single field in the form, right? And in that scenario, whenever user visits the dashboard, we'll want to show him an application form, right? A second stage is a counseling stage that I've created. In counseling status, when the user essentially fills out the whole form, correct? The admission form, and finally submits the form will go to our counselor. So in this status, counselor will review the form and actually, update the status whether he wants to offer the course to the student or wants to reject the offer, right? And then we have created a final state called as offered state, which will allow the user to see if he has been accepted to that course. And based on that offer, even in our portal, we might do some stuff like we want the user to download a brochure, or we want the user to download some kind of an application card, as we have seen a couple of slides ago with our application preview component, right, which will allow you to generate, customized PDF and things of that nature. Correct? So that is the second ingredient. We need an activity to track this status of the activity that user is performing, correct? And finally, we'll have to set up an automation, right? So automation essentially to users essentially who are new to LeadSquared, automations is something like a workflow that you can build. Um, and that workflow can essentially be triggered from different activity a lead performs, right? So a good example of that would be, say for example, you would want to send a welcome email to your lead whenever he visits your portal, right? So, or whenever he registers on your portal, correct? So in that case, you can quickly create an automation that on an activity that whenever a lead visits your portal, send him this XYZ email along with a brochure or along with a slide or a video or something like that, right? So that is what an automation is in short. But at least in this case, we'll need an automation, to send custom emails, SMS alerts for admission status updates, right? So whenever this admission activity, changes from pending to counseling, from counseling to offer, we want our user to obviously also these things will be visible on their dashboard, right, when they log in on the portal. But we also want them to send some kind of email or SMS communication, right? So ideally, this is something can be achieved with an automation. So we can set up a workflow based on the activity triggers that, if our admission activity changes to pending, send an email, SMS, or if it's changed to counseling, send an email and things of that nature. So now, say for example, we have set up these two ingredients, two forms, an admission activity and an automation, right? Now we can move to our actual uh, portal designing step, right? So as soon as you essentially go, so basically what we have done is we have created different templates, right, for your convenience, right? So what that will enable you to do is to select a template that will match to your unique brand or your unique design language, right? Or that will suit your business logic, right? So you can browse different templates, choose templates that will suit your logic, right? And sorry about that. Right. So say, for example, this is our section. We can browse different portals, different templates based on the industries, right? So for education, we have got multiple templates. For event, for finance, we have got multiple templates. What you can do is you can quickly select one of these templates that you like, right? And it will have all these pages, all these forms already set up. All you have to do is change couple of images and with your own university image, say for example, or change the text or arrange different items, integrate your own forms. So you already get a head start, right? You don't have to start anywhere from scratch. And also these templates are built essentially from our learnings and our experience with essentially user interfaces with regards to different industries, right? So for education, for finance and things like that, right? So you also get the best user experience in your industry domain, right? Now, once we have selected our template, right? Now we can move to actually customizing that portal to our business needs, to our brand, to our design, right? So that is pretty simple actually, right? As I mentioned, it's a no-code tool. You don't have to write any kind of tool. All you have to do is just drag and drop different components, right? So let us think it through, right? We are in university and we are building a portal for admissions. What are things we might want to add to our landing page that will attract our leads to register and to apply to our course, right? So we might have to add our infrastructure, the kind of faculties that we have, the kind of resources, the kind of infrastructure labs we have got, right? So that means we have to we have to add different promotional videos, slides, images, and things like that, right? So that is something pretty much easy, right? All you have to do is just drag different components, images, videos, as you can see in this image on the right hand side, right? So say for example, right now, what I'm doing is I'm adding a button to an instructions introduction, right? And I'm adding a button with learn more, and essentially you can click on that button and visit that instructor's profile and see, what kind of qualification he has got, and I can even change the color of that button. Correct? Cool. So it's pretty much a drag and drop functionality, right? You can even change like margin of different components. You can change the text color, the font size. So all of the things that you can think of around customizing the style of all these different components, alignment of images, alignment of different items, that is something you can do just via a couple of options on this right hand side sort of toolbar, right? So no, there's not a single word code you have to write, and all of this design is pretty much mobile responsive, right? So all of these components that you drag and drop and you build your landing page, it is pretty much responsive on mobile, on tablet, on device, on across all platforms, right? Uh, Now, cool. So what we have done is we have essentially set up our portal, our landing page, our FAQs, contact us, fee structure, and all of these things. Cool. So now what a user can do is user can visit our portals, see all this information, get informed about our university, and now essentially he would want to register for our our portal, right? In order to apply for different courses and things like that, right? So what you can do is you can actually add multiple pages, multiple forms, and obviously user registration, right? So again, that is pretty much simple. All you have to do is just drag and drop a sign up form that that we already created in our as we saw in our ingredients slide, right? We already created a registration form. Now in this part, in this third step, all you have to do is just drag that registration form into our portal, right? And that registration form we have already configured to log in with OTP, right? And besides that, you can also add, we'll also have to add a couple of public pages, right? As I mentioned, contact us, faculty, infrastructure. So these are public pages, right? User doesn't have to log in to view these pages. User who is not registered on portal should be able to view these kind of pages, right? And then finally, we'll also have to add a couple of protected pages, right? So only logged in users, only registered portal users can access this page, right? An application dashboard is a good example of that, where a user would ideally want to track their course application status, right? Another page in an admission application, right, where you will host your admission application form, which will have multiple steps, right? And then finally, you could also have a page called as course card page, where essentially user can download a PDF of their course, right? So this is a quick walkthrough of how it is done. What I did is I just dragged the form. Now in this section, I'm quickly writing the name of the form that I want to add. As soon as I do that, the form gets here. I can change the design of that form to add to the design language that I want. Next, what I'm going to do is I can quickly add another page. In this scenario, I think I'm trying to add a course register page, which is supposed to have our application form, right? So I'm giving a title to that page, right? Who Now I'm actually setting under what kind of hierarchy this page should be. Obviously, we want it to be on the root level. And at the end, you might have seen that I also changed a toggle for a login, right? So after changing that toggle, only logged in users can access this page, which makes sense because dashboard has to be login protected. So yeah, cool. So now what we have done is in this third step, we added a couple of public pages, we added a couple of protected pages. We also added our sign up form, right? So that users can come and register our portal. Cool. So now our user can visit our portal, can register our portal. What is next? Next, we want our user to, apply for the admissions. So that means we have to add an admission form, right? So that is pretty simple. Again, same idea, just like sign up forms. What we have to do is we have to just drag, drop an admission form that we have already created, and as we saw in our ingredient slide, right? And then finally, after user submits, user will come and fill out this form. He'll fill out the basic details. He'll fill out the education, interests, payment. He'll fill out the small nominal application payment. And finally, when you submit this form, right, ideally we'll want him to go to our dashboard, right? So let us see how to do that. So what I've done is I've dragged and dropped the form here. Right now, I'm actually just integrating the form that I want. So I selected the form. I'm actually going through different designs, right? This looks like a cool design. It has got tabs and all, so that's cool. Next, what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to increase the size of that form, right? Again, as I mentioned, it's pretty much customizable. This right-hand side toolbar, right? It will give you all alignment, border, spacing, padding, everything. You don't have to write any kind of code. Next, what I'm trying to do is action on successful submission, right? So when user submits our form, right, what should happen? Ideally, whenever user submits our admission form, we want him to link to the dashboard. So after the form submission, the user will be taken to our dashboard from where the user can track the status of their application, right? Whether it's pending or whether it's rejected or whether there is some kind of incomplete data and they want to edit that form again. Cool. So now our user can also come and fill this application form, correct? Now we want our user to be able to track, as I mentioned in the dashboard page, right? We want our user to be able to track the status of their application, right? Cool. So what else we can do on that dashboard, right? A good idea is that on this dashboard, we can like, greet our user and show instruction based on the lead stage, right? So I can sort of set up something like, say, for example, if I log into the portal, I want the dashboard to, show me a greeting like, hi, Shirish, this is your application. Please fill out your application. Please fill out your admission form. After that, your counselor will call you. So I want this kind of different instruction to be shown after my lead stage changes from, a pending to, say, for example, counseling. I want to show different kind of instruction, right? So even these kind of logic we can send, and I'll immediately show you in this quick GIF, right? Next, obviously, we can show the real-time status of users application, right? So as I mentioned, as we saw in one of our components, right, an application component, which will allow you to track the activity of the application status, right? So the activity of the admission form, whether it's pending, whether it's passed, or whether it's failed, right? So in this case, say for example, what I've done is I've added an application block and I've integrated to an activity called as course application. And this activity has three status: eligible, passed, and failed, right? So what I have to do is I actually have to configure the UI for each of these states, like how it should look to the user and what kind of action should be available to the user and what should happen when the user clicks on these different buttons, right? So say for example, whenever a user is eligible to apply for a course, we want him to click on attempt now, right? And in that case, he'll be taken to an assessment page or an application form or an admission form, right? And say for example, when the user has passed the application, right, then in that case we want him to download some kind of PDF. In this case, I've added a button called as download results. And say for example, if the user got rejected, right, then in that case we can have a button called as contact us, where the user can contact our support team and things like that, right? So yeah, you can show like real-time status of your application. The user can log in into the portal and check the status, right? And also you can like, obviously you can configure like each activity state, like pending, counseling, offered, right? So say for example, if I click on here, what I've done is I'm actually dragging a new application block, right? So there are these different designs available, right? What we'll do is we'll stick to the first one, right? And now we'll try to integrate it to an activity. In this case, it is enrolled for course, right? And then based on that status of activity, I'll have to configure each of these states, right? So say for example, right now I'm trying to configure when the activity status is pending, as in the course application status is pending. So in that case, I'll have a button called as apply now. I'll want to show the status of my application. So in that case, I have linked a field here, like lead field, an activity field. So when it will render, it will show pending. And I'll also want to show the course name of the user as selected, right? And now I'm actually setting up rules. Like when do I want to show this particular state, right? So it should be showed when the status of this course enrollment activity is active, right? So when my course enrollment activity is active, then it should show this kind of application block, right? So that is how essentially you configure your application block and allow your users to see, different states of their application, right? So that will kind of increase the transparency between you and your leads or your users, right? Cool. So now our user can actually register, apply for a course application and also track the status of his application. Now, say for example, after a user essentially gets approved for a course, right? We want him to download some kind of an like an ID, right? Like an identity card or a course card or something like that. So we want him to download this kind of a PDF, right? That has got our branding, our LeadSquared University branding, his photo, his signature, and other lead information that we collected through our admission form, right? So as we saw a component called as application preview in the last slide, in a couple of slides ago, right? So what I've done is I'll just drag this application preview, and to that application preview, I'll just link the activity. In this case, it is our course application activity, right? And in that case, whenever user actually submits the application form, a PDF would be generated, and that PDF we can essentially render in this application preview. Correct. So, I mean, you can find more information on how to configure this particular component on our help center. But this is kind of a short intro of how essentially you can start showing PDFs or say, for example, loan agreement or things of that nature right inside your portals, right? Without writing a single code. Again, that's the highlight, right? So cool. Now our students can also download an admission card after they have actually signed up for, they have actually approved for a course, right? So the next thing we can do is, which is very cool, is you can actually connect to Google Analytics, or even you can update different email templates, right? So this is pretty simple. In your portal settings, all you have to do is just copy paste your Google Analytics tag and you're done. Like that's it. You don't have to do any kind of coding beyond that. You have to just paste your Google Analytics script and you're done with tracking, right? Cool. And finally, we have added analytics and all. This is the last and final step, right? That is lift off. We want to launch our portal. So that is also a pretty simple step. You don't have to do some kind of technical stuff. All you have to do is just click on the publish to test button, right? So after that, your portal will be published to test, right? Test environment. Beyond that, all your internal team, your management and everybody can test out the portal, give feedback. And once they are happy, they can publish your portal to live on your custom domain, right? So say, for example, if you have got your domain like bestinstitution.com, right? So you can have your portal hosted on something like apply.bestinstitution.in, right? So you can have your custom domains and all of this nature. And within a couple of minutes, your portal is actually published to the test environment, right? And once you're happy with it, you can publish your portal to live. Another cool feature is you can have multiple versions of your portal, right? So say, for example, right now you're working on a business logic. You're working on multiple user flows, right? Multiple admission flows, and you want to release one of those flows. So you can actually release them without really affecting any other version of your portal. So that is a pretty neat feature to have different versions of your portal and deploy whenever you want. Cool. So that's how we essentially saw how you can quickly publish your portals without really writing any code. All you have to do is drag and drop. Now these portals again are responsive on mobile, tablet, across all devices, right? They are 99% essentially available. They are capable to withstand any kind of application search, any kind of load, right? So what I am actually interested to learn is like, what do you think would be the most valuable benefit of moving to a self-serve portal designer for your business, right? So say, for example, a lot of our folks are essentially building portals with their internal IT admin teams, right? What do you think would be a benefit if you want to move to a self-serve portal designer like ours?
Thank you, Shirish. So, like he said, what do you think would be the most valuable benefit of moving to a self-serve portal designer for your business? So, would it be quick changes and customizability? So, I also saw there were questions that came up about that. So, yes, they're fully customizable, no code, just drag and drop. Yeah, they are fast, mobile responsive portals that you can use to collect payments. So I know some of you said you were from the lending sector, insurance sector. I think this is a perfect place for you to experiment and try if this works for you. It works out of the box with LeadSquared forms and automation. So if you use a lot of LeadSquared forms and automation, do sync it up with portals. Is it it's a stable, reliable, secure, and scalable infrastructure? So is that something that would benefit you the most, or is there any other benefit? And if so, please specify what that is via chat. So I can tell you, most people think the benefit for them would be quick changes and customizability, but then there are a lot of people also think that it is a stable, reliable, secure, and scalable infrastructure. Likewise, with out of the box integration with LeadSquared forms and automation. So those are the top three answers that I am seeing, Shirish. Quick changes, works out of the box with LeadSquared, forms and automations, and of course a scalable infrastructure. Yeah, that's what most people are saying.
Interesting, interesting. Even in our example, right, as a university, we really want to focus on admissions and not worry about, how to maintain and scale our portal, right? We want to focus on how we can get more and more admissions and not worry about our scalability. Just kick back and relax and let LeadSquare, worry about all these technical scalability infrastructure uh, challenges. Cool. I'm very excited actually to take your questions, see what kind of use case that you want to explore, and interested to learn your thoughts and your questions, feedback.
Sure, Shirish. So actually, most of the questions have been answered, but maybe for the benefit of the audience, I will repeat some of them, so everyone else knows answers to those questions as well, and they may have similar questions.
Awesome.
So, of course, the first question was, and I have answered this already, but can forms also be customized from a design perspective so it looks like our website? So essentially, the brand design, can they make it look like something that looks like their website?
Got it, got it, got it. So when we actually, let me see if I can quickly jump to that section, right? But yeah, I mean, once you essentially drag and drop different forms in our portals, right? Then you've got an option. So say, for example, I'm actually dragging a sign up form, right? And in this right-hand side section, you see I'm actually integrating a form. Below that, we have got different form design variants, right? So I've actually selected just design two, and I can actually customize different sections that I want to show. And not only these, right? You see these first name labels, these mobile number, email label, placeholder, right? All of these colors, their fonts, their size, all of these things can be changed. All you have to do is just double click on items that you want to customize, and quickly on the right hand side, it will show those margin, padding, font, size options, and that's it, right? I mean, it's customizable as it gets. And we'll keep on adding more and more cool design variants as we release better, more versions on board.
All right. Another question that I thought would be interesting was, how do I keep track? So essentially, will they be able to keep track of the inquiries coming in, Shirish?
Inquiries of application form.
Yes. As
So, I
in,
mean,
basically the leads that are captured, will they be able to keep track of that?
yeah, I mean, whenever a user registers on your portal, right? So essentially, if he's an existing lead in your system, right, then he can immediately log in. If he's a new lead, right, then in that case, a new lead will be created in the LeadSquared platform, right? And whatever data that you collect from the sign up form, right? So say, for example, in the sign up form, we are taking email, we are taking the city of that user, his phone number, we are verifying that phone number, right? Whenever he registers, and if he's a new lead, all of those data will also get stored against that lead, right? Later on, when he goes on to fill an admission form, right? And in that admission form, we'll have different lead fields, right? So say, for example, address, interested courses, things like that. So those things will also get stored against that lead, right? So in your smart views or in your lead view, you can in your smart view you can filter based on these lead fields, and actually in your manage leads view, right, you can actually see these different fields, and in the activities you can actually track when the user logged into the portal, when he actually submitted the form, when he actually paid for the through the payment gateway. So you can actually track that activity inside the lead activity through your LeadSquared account, right? So then that is also a cool way to track. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Shirish. So I also see questions very specific to certain industries, and I apologize, but we will
Okay.
not be able to really cover that straight away right now. It is 4 o'clock, and we will need to end the session soon. But I would say that feel free to reach out to us, and Shirish is available. So is your account manager. I know some of you want use cases for, and examples for healthcare, for real estate and for lending based on the responses I see here. So don't worry, we will reach out to you for to showcase examples for your industry as well. But for the time being, we will need to end the session here. And as Shirish has pointed out here, there is a link to the site that you need to go to. I am also going to share it on chat here. So everyone, please do go through the articles there. It will give you a lot more clarity. And of course, reach out to support@leadsquare.com. Feel free to reach out to me as well, and I will respond to your questions immediately. Forward it to Shirish and Surya if I need their help with the answers. So thank you so much, Shirish, for taking us through this presentation and sharing all the use cases. And of course, thank you so much, Surya, for helping the audience with their questions today. Hopefully, we'll see you guys again for another portal session at some point. Thank you so much. Everyone, please do take care and stay safe. Bye bye.
Thank you.